I am here. Hello, hello.
Great. Good.
That was great and a beautiful segue into what I'd like to talk about tonight. Oh, God was so good, ladies, for bringing me and Shanta together. It has been one miracle after another since we've connected over the years, and I am grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of you being here with us this week because it is a potent, powerful week for us personally, individually, as far as the energies go. So I'd like to start with this heart of the mother that Shanta has so beautifully put on the table for us, because we are here to honor the Pisces full moon that's coming up, which happens every year during Virgo time. And all the earth signs, which are Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus, believe that earth is sacred. Every single one of them is dedicated to a different aspect of earth and us earthlings. Virgo is all about the nervous system. It's all about the systems in our bodies that are very individual systems, but they work together for good. So this is the time of year when we address that and we look at our system. And it's a purification time. It's a time when you can do some fasting if that's your thing, or whatever purification means to you, but in the body. In the body is so important. And I do believe I've already mentioned this to this circle that we share, that we are so supported for whatever body work we can do and that we're in a position to do is so vital, because I feel like we've been working on our consciousness, and certainly this circle for many lifetimes, but this lifetime in particular, for sure. And consciousness can change in an instant, but physicality, matter, material reality, your body, all these things, physical, take a little more time. And so I just have been getting this sense in various confirmations, the way we get our confirmations from the universe, that it has just hit the body. And so even though we've been mentally aware that Earth's frequency has doubled, more than doubled by now, I bet, because we talked about this in 2012 when it had actually doubled. It's a real vibratory frequency. We vibrated for many, many years. I think it was something like 7.5 gigahertz, and now it's 15 gigahertz. And like I said, I haven't checked in years, so it could be even more than that. But I really feel like it's imperative that even as, and like Shanta said, as we are the ones that hold the heart space and we hold the light, so that those in darkness can find the light and connect to the light and know that it's never, ever, ever, ever extinguished. This is part of our job. Like she said, we agreed to this at some point along the way. I do believe that as well. And so because it's hitting the body, the self-care piece is just so vital. Everybody's body is unique. You know, absolutely. We've all learned that every diet does not work for everybody, and so neither will this. So how our bodies wake up and be able to handle the frequencies, you know, it's pretty standard physics. We need to lighten up. We need to lighten up in so many ways. We've gotten very dense and very heavy, and that's not the answer. That's not the answer. So this month in particular, we're resetting our systems, and we're supported to reset our systems. But as we get to this full moon and it lights up this area of life, I would like to also remind you that Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. There's 12, Aries through Pisces. And so this is the 12th month of release work that we've focused on in this full moon circle. And there's a vibration to that. Like you can feel where you are hopefully approaching a real breakthrough in your healing process. On some level. You know, maybe not everything gets healed, but hopefully the breakthroughs are very close right now if they haven't happened already. That's part of what we want to honor. I do often try to remind you because, you know, when I've talked to people about release work in particular, I try to encourage them to think of it not so much as a sacrifice or what you're giving up, but what you're clearing space to bring in new. That's what the full moon really gives us a chance to do. And the way that we're going right now, and I'm sure we talked about it when it happened a couple months ago. I think it happened where we got, was it 2 full moons in Libra? Because we were restoring balance and there was a double shot at it. I think this is what was happening in Aries time. And it flipped the order. So now we're initiating with a new moon and having to go 2 weeks to the full moon. And it changes every 18 months. It's like clockwork. You know, we can all tune into the moon to get ourselves together on any level. Like our bodies are tied to the rhythms of the moon, and we know that. And so tuning in and recognizing where you have completed certain things And then maybe looking at where you're only halfway there, or maybe you just started. This is assessment time. So we're assessing how much has gotten done, how much still needs to get done, without getting overwhelmed by it, and this is Virgo time as we're approaching harvest. So there's another thing I like to remind people. Right before winter, spring, summer, and fall, we have the month prior. Right now, we're in Virgo, and when we get to fall equinox, it'll be Libra time. This is the time to process. So we get 4 times a year during Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini, Sag times, which would be March and September for Virgo and Pisces, June and December for Gemini and Sag. These are processing times right before the big seasonal shift. And what happens at the seasons is we have to make new choices. We usually have to turn in a new direction some kind of way. There's action. There's movement. And if you're going to have action and movement, you really should be processing things properly and integrating certain things before you do that. And this is our chance to do that. And Virgo itself is all about healing, and it is very much the high priestess energy that we all seem to embody in the circle for sure. It's very feminine in that regard, but it is totally guided by healing. It is totally guided by healing. And I know traditional astrology will say that Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is it's one piece of it because Mercury rules processes. But the real meat of it is healing and education. It's learning how your system works and learning what's best for you or not good for you and that kind of thing, and getting a rhythm. If you're having trouble getting that rhythm together, it's time to really check in and see what can be released so that you can be more consistent. And this is the time to start a new rhythm and routine. That's why you do a purification. We approach the season of balance, the 1 of 2 times that we get in the year to tune into real, tangible, physical balance. And that's so important. We have some extra entities in the sky, what are called asteroids, and they're very sacred feminine based, let's say. So in the Virgo crew, which is pretty big crew, normal is Sun, Moon, and Mercury. Normal is the personal planets. They go really fast. You would hardly notice. But this year is special because both Venus and Mars joined together just not too long ago, August 24th to be exact. And that reset the masculine feminine on this healing path to develop a new system of balance between the two and integration between the two so that they can function as a whole. And so there's this wonderful support for the balance of the masculine feminine, but then there's this extra feminine thing there called Juno, which is what we're deeply wedded to, what we're deeply committed to. So if we could just commit to practical application, having a rhythm and routine, being responsible for our own health and healing, even if we have helpers to do it, whether it's doctors or other people, but really owning that, this is our chance to rewire those connections between the visible and invisible, the tangible and intangible, and the logical and intuitive. This is all part of it. This whole month is about our body and spirit connection. So Virgo's the body, Pisces is the spirit, and the connection to God and all the oneness that we believe in and that we trust and we know we are all one. And so any sense of separation, any sense of isolation, all of that it can be released, let's say, and open for goodness to come in, especially since next month you might, if you do the clearing and you do the purification and you're feeling good about your own rhythm, then it might work to have really amazing new connections come into the light over the last quarter of this year. And we should be thinking like that anyway. We should be thinking in terms of partnerships. No man is an island. We're not supposed to do this alone. You have to do it yourself, but you don't have to do it alone. There's going to be a way for you to make new connections as this space is opened up for you, as you lighten up, as you make these connections with the system that are necessary for your own personal individual healing. And it is very personal, very, very personal. But we need to be committed to, at this moment, to the little things. It's really important to pay attention and to allow some time, a couple of times a year, to check in with the details. And so there's this huge push for healing and groundedness that we're totally connected to, and feminine wisdom that we're wired for, and choosing a new dedication, especially if you do a purification and you're starting a new routine. And then we've talked about this too, the Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini, Sag are part of a family, the mutable family. All 4 of them are part of the same family. And up in the sky, 3 out of the 4 are animated. And we've talked about this too, how you want to bring in that 4th leg consciously so that you can stabilize what's going on. and integrate it properly and actually make it useful to your system. So we have the Virgo piece. We know the body part is up. So we want to check in with our bodies for sure, our health, what's going on there. How do you feel in terms of your healing? Let's just keep it with this year, 2019, because a lot of what we've already done and what we're preparing for in the last quarter is strengthening and fortifying us for 2020, which has some pretty miraculous alignments that aren't necessarily bad or negative or hard for us as individuals, but they're social and collective activation. So they're moving large groups of people along all at the same time. And when that's happening, you kind of don't know what's what until the dust settles. So we definitely want to just do that self-care piece so that we can handle whatever comes. That's the idea, to just be strong enough in our practices that we can handle whatever gets thrown our way at this time, while everybody else is a little unsettled and confused and not making that body and spirit connection that we are this month for sure. And Neptune is in its home place in Pisces. So across from this personal work in our body that we have to do, we also are integrating a new connection, a deeper connection to spirit, to our higher selves, and to that wisdom that is part of us. We're balancing that out between our little human selves and then that big eternal spirit that is also part of our natures and part of us. And then the third leg is Sagittarius. It's got Jupiter in its home place. So both the faith planet and the philosophy planet, what we believe to be true and possible, is Jupiter's domain. Neptune is that connection to God and oneness and all that. So they're both in kind of similar departments, but they work way differently. Neptune's obviously way more subtle. But Jupiter is trying to teach us something right now, and it's trying to connect us to our own sense of truth and purpose by our own definition, and that has to come from the integrity of your soul and who you are and what you really believe to be true or possible for humanity. And the feminine entity that's there in Sag with Jupiter is Ceres, is the mother, the great mother. And so the truth is that we have to honor Mother. And like Shanta said, everything we do for our bodies, and our minds and spirits for that matter, I suppose, serves Mother in some way. And I have told people for a long time, all the healing work that we do as individuals ripples out, whether you know it or not, whether you see it or not, whether anybody tells you or not, it does. Trust me. You doing any aspect of this healing work is ripples in the pond that are helping make it easier for others to heal as well. And so we want to nurture the truth of our oneness, of our existence, that we are here and part of this garden and part of this Eden that is floating in the universe. We're the only planet like this, so we really need to honor Mother and take care of her because we only get one. And the fourth leg of Gemini that's missing, that's making it slightly imbalanced, and to bring in that balance is logical thought and thinking things through and recognizing that we have more choices than we give ourselves credit for. So let me just say this one aspect between the faith and the belief planets together is changing us all throughout the year of 2019, and the final hit is, it hit 3 times over, and the third time is September 21st. So it's coming up, and we're in the orb of influence right now. And this has pretty much created a huge crisis of faith in a lot of people. It's hard to believe when you see so much atrocity going on and hurt and suffering and pain, and the violations to Mother is really hard for me to take. It's really hard. So recognizing that there are other options is something that we have to consciously do. It's not going to be obvious. It's not going to be easy. We got to think outside the box and really ask ourselves what's needed in this moment and bring it down to bite size, like bring it down to human size. If you get overwhelmed with the worldly piece, which we all can because we're empaths and we can feel the pain and suffering if you open up to it enough, that's hard. That's really hard for anyone to go through. So I do also give everyone permission to bring it back internal. Take care of you. Taking care of you is going to help the rest, I promise. But throwing yourself under the bus is not going to save anybody. That's not going to help anyone down the road. So this is a month where we can tune into the release work of the full moon is releasing any illusions and delusions, anything that just doesn't make that much sense anymore. Let's say maybe it used to work, but it just doesn't work anymore. To recognize our sensitivities as real, but again, we don't want to be overwhelmed. So then we're back to boundaries. So boundaries, I've always said, have to be hemp or bamboo. They have to be super strong, super flexible, but breathable. You want to sense what's going on around you. You want to know what's going on to a certain degree so that you can make educated choices, but not to the place where it overwhelms your system and knocks you out. That's just, then you're not good to anybody. It's like being in a crisis and you can't function. So this is a time of endings. Like I said, it's the 12th full moon in a row for a minute before it reboots. And so we've done a little bit of release work for 12 months in a row, and it's culminating now. And so whatever that's allowing you to do is actually feeding into the vision that we're feeding going forward. Because what's done is done, of course, but you've completed so much. You've done more healing work than you're probably giving yourself credit for. You have cleared your system of so many things that would delay your connection to God and make that harder. But you've come a long way, not that there's not still work to do or ways to go. But I also think about one of my things that actually Shanta has truly been the queen of helping me with is my own sensitivity, because we're both Cancers. And so for many years growing up in D.C., I was a city girl, and being sensitive in Washington, D.C. is just dangerous. So I pushed her aside, and I let my Aries and my Virgo run things for a very long time until I met Shanta, and I saw a Cancer living righteously and clean and balanced and beautiful and healthy and wonderful. And I was like, oh my God, it's possible. And now I'm past 50 and I'm thinking, you know, if I could have just owned it early on that I was a sensitive, and if I could have just built these better boundaries and had better boundaries with the people around me at the time, then, I mean, obviously woulda, coulda, shoulda doesn't mean anything, but I thought about it, and I feel bad for my younger self. Like, I've had to go back and apologize. Like, you just totally pushed me aside like I just was never going to matter. And so if you are sensitive, you can't feel guilty about it. You can't feel shame about it. And you can't be twisted when there's other people who are trying to be practical and just be practical. No, I can feel this, and I need to understand what this feeling is, or I need to deal with it, or I need to channel it, or it needs to be addressed. You know, you don't just shove them down, which is what I used to do, and it's not healthy. So the sensitivity thing is up right now, and it's possible with the full moon that it's lighting up things that have been hidden or repressed or suppressed in some way. So you're tuning into that so that you can connect, and I love that Shanta put it out there for us to open up to receive some kind of mandate from heaven, which is what it's called in my I Ching, and it's something that I really feel like we're getting right now. That because we've done so much clearing, because we've already cleared so much and made our way here, but this is a month where literally our perception can shift. And you can be sensitive to relevant things. It doesn't have to be total chaos and irrelevant and overwhelmed. So what is it that you are sensitive to that's good and positive and works for you? And what are the sensitivities that push you over the edge and are not easy to deal with? And how can we address those this month? How can we be a little more practical, a little more reasonable in our expectations, certainly, because Virgo always brings up the perfection thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be whole. That's Virgo's whole deal. And so this month is about pulling all the different fragments of ourselves and of our year together into some kind of cohesive whole. That's what we're healing this month, is any kind of fragmentation. You know, anything that's got you in bits and pieces and all broken up and all over the place and scattered. You know, we want to bring that in because we're still in the earth energy, and this is where we need to anchor this. So these two getting together in the sky, shifting our perception, shifting our beliefs, anchoring things that are real and true deeper, and releasing the illusions and delusions is all part of it. And the whole lesson is trust. Trust and discernment. Learning when, where, who to trust is all part of it. But that starts with trusting ourselves. So start there. And that was a big one for me because I know I made a lot of poor choices in my youth, and I did not trust myself for a while there. And part of the way that I even got my husband was that I did the exact opposite to what my natural instincts told me to do. Because my natural instincts had not drawn my divine mate yet. So I was frustrated, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to flip it, and I'm going to be the opposite Kelly. And it actually worked because it broke the bad habits, it broke the illusions and delusions that I was under at the time, and it opened up something else in me to come awake and to come alive. And so that can happen. And the last couple of things I wanted to put on the table here is that next week, this week is pretty personal in terms of the energies kicking. And so it's a good time if you can get some time and space to yourself to assess your year and to prepare for 2020 in some kind of conscious way. Obviously, we can't do but so much, but to be aware that it's going to be a very active, changeable year, and lots of miracles are possible and even probable. If we can just honor the various aspects of Earth, so in Virgo it's the systems, in Capricorn, it's the structure and the foundation and the base, which is so important, because if your structure and foundation and base is not solid, you cannot expand. Otherwise, it crumbles underneath you, and then where are you? You've got to build another base, right? And Taurus is the beauty way. It is the garden. It's what we build with our own two hands that has value because it's part of the earth and it's part of us and it's valuable. So we're so supported this week to do things in a personal way and to take some time out. And any of you that are into my forecast or the YouTube or the blog, it's all in depth there for the week. We've got some great blessings and possibilities for ourselves where we can make some connections. And next week when Saturn goes direct, like right now, I have already gotten a few phone calls from people that are really frustrated and they're like, I can feel it, it's close, but I'm just not going over the hump. Well, next week when Saturn goes direct, we'll get over the hump, I promise. It's going to help us in the ways that we've been delayed or denied for the last 5 or 6 months where things might have been hard. And what happens is Saturn's just asking us to double-check things. Don't rush through everything. There's a step-by-step process, and all the earth signs believe in a process. They believe in honoring the process. And Virgo's at the head of that one. Capricorn and Saturn believe in the step-by-step processes and not skipping steps and not doing them out of order, because then you don't really get the right results. So next week it's going to lighten up a little bit more. Again, you may have these ahas and these awakenings because Jupiter has been expanding our consciousness and teaching us something about our belief systems and what we're believing and how we manifest that way. Because if you believe it and you feel it, and God forbid you feel it with some vehemence or with really strong emotion behind it, it is done. So that's why we have to stay in the light. We have to stay positive and make those immediate corrections. Sometimes you can't help when fearful thoughts come in, and Virgo Pisces time is all about the irrational fears. So if there are any of those, you can also release those. It's a good month to release addictions of any kind. It's really supported that we clear all that out because we want to be grounded going forward. And what we can do in the next year especially is building something so new, so different, that can support us going forward completely. It's so important and vital that we are clear about at least our own values and priorities, what's important to us at this time. And so for this full moon, I just want you to, check in with your body and check in with your systems, your mind, your mentality, and see if we can't do a little integration there and pull some pieces that have been stray. They've gone astray. We're going to bring them back in and weave something stronger that is stronger than its individual parts. Going forward, just think about rhythm. Think about rhythm and some aspect of your routine, like adding something or taking something away. Whatever it is, shake it up a little bit, because the universe is trying to bring you some blessings and some miracles, but they can't do it if we're doing the same old all the time. And it's really a time where we can make some things real in the next year or two, because we do have all this earth energy. Like right now, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo are all activated. So anything you want to be real and be in physical form, we are so supported for building that, whatever it may be. It's important and vital that certain ones we do actually do. So wherever you need the stability the most, wherever you need the grounding the most, wherever you need the protection the most, that's where you start. That's where you start and know that the energies are behind you. And some of them are kind of rare. We haven't had access to this energy of awakening in our bodies in a minimum of 84 years because of Uranus' cycle. So this, for most of us on this call, I believe, we are under 84. We are supported for this awakening in the body. So we want to pay attention to that. How's that going? That really is what is most supported, is getting your mind and body in sync and in alignment, and releasing anything extraneous or distractions or nonsense or non-essential. If it's not relevant and it's not useful, it's got to go right now. That's the earthy, practical stuff going on. That's that practical energy supporting us. And we have to kind of do that for ourselves. It's not a lot of folks around that are going to be able to keep you in line that way. Like, you have to do it yourself. So generating a practice for responding to any of the fearful thoughts or the overwhelm in that moment, you just pull it back in, and whichever practices work the best for you, that's what you just go right back to what works, because that's the other thing. Medicine is what works. Being healthy is what works for you, and this is the time where we can tune in and make some adjustments. Pay attention to how you're assessing 2019, again, what got done and not done, so that you know what you have to do to kind of close out the year strong. And this is the lunation that we think about it all. And hopefully make those connections so that next month, when it's Aries Libra time, and you're releasing some aspect of yourself so that you can be in collaboration with others at a higher level, then you're going to be totally supported because you've done this purification work beforehand. So, Shanta, I think that's about it for me. I could say we have this full moon, and then we have the fall equinox, which is really powerful. I hope you guys join us again. So, Shanta, come on back, darling. And Mercury retrograde coming up in Scorpio. That's what I was thinking. So, yeah, October, November is the next Mercury retrograde, if anybody needs to know, and it's in Scorpio. So it's about our power and how we channel that, our ideas and thoughts and concepts around power, sex, death, or money, all part of that as well. But Mercury's going to do a little review. And in the water signs, it's always about our feelings and emotions, and that's your soul level. It's also soul level when it's Scorpio. So we're going to have a little time out to pull some other things together, but I think it's going to be, let's say, better than the average Mercury retrograde, because it might be more about feelings than thoughts at that point. But that was it. I just wanted to put the Mercury retrograde on the radar.
That's good to know. And I'm sorry.
Because September's it, then October, November is going to kick up. So we got to do as much as we can now as well.
So when is Mercury retrograde? Tell me again. I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't have the official dates in front of me, but October, November is the whole window. For the whole 2 months, it'll be in Scorpio. So, yeah.
September is our month to make the changes we want to make. Okay. Great.
And do any upgrading and fix your computers and cars and mechanics. Do the maintenance on them. Do that prior. That's always good.
Good. I have an appointment tomorrow. That's fantastic.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really great stuff, very relevant and inspiring. And thank you for the sweet words.